Welcome to the Hot Seat powered by Affordable Staff, David Judge, and here we are at Season 2, Episode 10 of The Hot Seat, where we release a new episode every second Tuesday and talk to industry influencers that have worked hands-on in the real estate industry to find out where these influencers see current and future trends and what you can do about it to support and grow your business. Now, today's a great interview as we're interviewing Greg Waston, who is based in Palmerston North in New Zealand, and he's actually had a strong presence in the industry where he joined that industry over 22 years ago with his father and his brother. Now, it's a great interview, and in the interview, it's actually really interesting because we talk about how Greg not delegating meant he paid over $75,000 over 2 years and how that mistake had a huge impact on their cash flow to the stage where they weren't paying themselves. The importance of having a genuine passion for what you're doing and how that moves you beyond being a salesperson, and why 65% of all properties in New Zealand are self-managed and how New Zealand PMs are using that as an opportunity to grow their rent rolls. Now, this is just a short preview because there's so many things we actually covered in this interview. And what I actually really enjoy about this interview is how Greg is so raw with his answers. Greg shares his successes, and at the same time, he shares the failures that have helped him along his journey. And you know what? I actually think that that's what makes this such an authentic interview, especially as you can see how Greg's business is continuing to grow and flourish, yet you know that it's not all roses that he's had to, it's not all roses to get there. He's had the tough times, he's had the challenging times, and that authenticity shines through in this interview. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking, let's get into it and roll it. Hello, welcome, David Judge here from The Hot Seat, and I have...
Eva Judge.
And we have...
I'm Greg Waston.
Greg, where are you from?
I'm from Palmerston North in New Zealand.
Fantastic, and we're here in New Zealand at the moment doing a couple of interviews, so it should be very, very good. So we're going to go through and I'll change over to our questions because I realised I moved away from them. Just going to ask you a couple of questions around how you got into the industry, where you see the industry now, where you see it going, and see how it rolls from there.
Yeah, so we opened our business in August 22 years ago. So it's been 22 years.
You've been a part of it for 22 years?
Yes, it was myself and my brother and father.
They got hair and...
Yeah.
Maybe you see mine.
You might ask me later on how often I use Botox, but no, there are wrinkles there. But we started a family business, which was really nice. About the first 6 or 7 years, I worked my way, because I didn't have previous experience, I worked my way from admin, front of house, through to real estate sales. And I worked in real estate sales, and my fantastic skill that I had in that line of work was a real empathy with people, being able to relate to people, and I'd pick up listings very easily, no matter who the competition was. And that's transferred now through to my current role as a business development manager. How I got into property management was interesting, and we had at that time a small portfolio. It was about 160 properties, and we had a man who was very trusted to our family. He was almost like another son to my father.
Yes.
And unfortunately, as you live and learn and you make mistakes, he was in sole charge of property management. Now, he ended up stealing a considerable amount of money, luckily not from our clients, but from the owners, myself and my father and brother. So that was an instant dismissal situation, and he was the only person that was doing property management in our company.
Someone had to step in.
So that changed the whole dynamic. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then that creates an opportunity. And what I saw was, this is a fantastic opportunity. Yes, I'm good at sales, but property management could be something that I could get really good at if I put my mind to it. We could learn plenty about it and then try to create a fantastic experience for people. So,
what do you prefer, sales or property management?
I like within property management, I've worked in pretty much all the roles as well. And what I like, that's a really good question, because what I love is seeing people, helping them, guiding them on a journey. And I think with property management, it's nice because you can actually form longer-term relationships. Yeah.
Sales is like a bit of a quick fix.
Sales might be that you sell your property, and you might not, apart from newsletters and things, there won't be that much communication, relatively speaking, until those people sell again or have another transaction. So what I do like is that you can form those ongoing relationships, and I'm a people person. Yes. So I think the property management business development manager role is my forte. It's what I love. So I've worked my way through my career to do the things that I love and to take away the things that I'm not so good at.
If you weren't, or if you didn't come into real estate / property management, what do you think you'd be doing now?
Yeah, I'm actually qualified in 3 areas, and I'm a bit of a nerd at times. But I've got a degree in psychology and one in information systems. So what I was looking at doing was designing computer systems for businesses. So as can happen when you're studying and when you're a bit younger, you can end up in a situation where you go quite a long way through your studies, and then you decide, actually, you know what?
That's not what
it's
I
not
want to
quite
do.
me. Yeah. So
I understand.
Yeah, so I had to have some hard conversations with myself and say, you know what? You're a people person, and although creating these IT-related services would help people, it wouldn't fulfil me. So,
it's more lonely sort of work.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Ever comes from a background in art, so
in graphic design.
Yes.
I've got a bachelor in graphic design, and I was there at the end of my degree, and I realised, hang on a second, I don't get to paint things. I just get to sit in front of a computer all day. I don't like this.
Yeah.
So what I do for a living now is sit in front of a computer all day.
But
I love it. But I talk to people.
I've always had the skill of being able to bullshit. So that's the reason why she did very, very well at university, because it's not actually creating the piece of art.
Yeah.
It was about how you sell your piece of art.
That's so true. That's so true. But I think probably many people can relate to a situation in life where you manoeuvre yourself into a situation that you really enjoy, and that's where I've made mistakes in business, and I learn from those, and then I figure out, you know what, when the business was smaller, I was trying to do too many things myself. For example, I used to do the finances, the balancing of the books.
Yes.
And in the olden days, we were using Excel spreadsheets to do that, and I did a formula wrong. So we ended up paying the Inland Revenue, the tax department, $75,000 too much over about 3 years or 2 years until our accountant noticed. And
At least you would have gotten that back.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, they don't give you interest though. And so what happened was, the time when I was overpaying the tax department were tough times in real estate, and we were struggling. We were going sometimes without paying ourselves. And do you think I felt a little bit guilty about that?
Yeah,
so I said, right, from now on, that's not my forte.
No.
People are my forte. Someone else do that, please. So,
But it's a learning experience in itself.
It is.
We're going through
Absolutely.
Going back in 2012 when we had our online marketing business, we didn't pay ourselves for a few months.
Yeah.
Google released a major change.
Algorithm
update. Things started changing rapidly. We were losing clients because what you used to have to do to go and achieve a result for a client suddenly changed.
Yes.
And all the stuff that they said that you were supposed to be doing, no one was doing. There were
And
issues
even
with,
what you were supposed to do, it wasn't working. So
But going back and looking back on that, it was whilst it was a challenging time, and whilst my dad was visiting and he wanted to go out and he wanted to do all these things, in hindsight, it was definitely helped with our growth to where we are now.
Absolutely. And I think when somebody's got a small to medium enterprise, that you do a lot of hours often, or you do the extra things, but as you grow, it's really important just to keep reanalyzing and saying, am I working to my strengths? Are my staff working to their strengths? For goodness sake, have someone that loves numbers and figures to do your finances, and they'll be fulfilled.
But that's actually a really valid point, and I think it's because a lot of people end up in roles which they don't enjoy as well. And I think from what you're sort of saying here is, you do what you love doing, and it
great.
shows because I mean, every time I look at some awards, there's Greg Waston winning another award.
That's right.
So but the point is, obviously, it comes through and it shows, and obviously you're reaping the rewards of it as a business as well because your passion is there.
Yeah,
and so often, you see people who just don't have that passion or have lost that passion.
Yes.
And I think at times you have to sit back and go, okay, should I be doing this? Or am I going to make that real hard decision, and am I going to do something different in my life?
And if you have a genuine passion for what you do and you really, really love what you do, and if you're in sales, you don't really have to sell. People see your enthusiasm, and they see the passion, and they think, I want to work with this guy. He's
and it's almost it doesn't it moves away from that transactional thing, and it just becomes a relationship that you're forming with the person. So I think it's fantastic. So with that in mind, what do you see as one of the challenges or problems within the industry right now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a great person for technology. I love it. I love efficiencies. I love automation, automating conversation flows, all those sorts of things. However, a challenge is actually around communication and making it personal, and they're a little bit contradictory. So there's a place.
It can be.
Yes, there's a place for automation. So on your website, if you can ask a few automated questions, so you can give them the really valuable information. You're just asking, why are you here today? How can we help? Are you here to buy a property or wanting to know more information about property management or being a landlord. And if they can click a few automated responses that guide them into a space where you can give them the best information they want straight away, then that's fantastic. Yes. But I think the important steps are the ones where you're providing the information that you can jump in personally and be a real person.
So is that what you think, that there's in the industry there's a bit of a turnaround where people are using the technology not to do the face-to-face?
Yes, and I guess that's what I'm talking about, is that if you can have automation or technology to do things like creating efficiencies, making businesses run faster or provide a better customer experience, that's good. Yeah. But you have to also be careful not to depersonalise things.
Yes.
And so and have a disengagement with people that are effectively new clients just because it's easier for us that way to have it automated.
So is that how you'd see someone would be able to differentiate themselves in the industry?
Yes. So we have a system where online ads or a visit to our website starts one of these automated conversations, but I can see every step, or my staff can see every step of every conversation in real time. So we use something called ManyChat, which you might be familiar with, where people can send a message and it comes to most often my phone, because and again you can channel it with so someone said they want someone to manage your property, so I get that message,
of course.
And then I'll send them a audio message or a video message.
Great.
If it's a time that I can't talk
to them.
But if you can just jump in and say, "Can I give you a ring?" They think, "Oh, it's a real person." We say, "Hi, it's Greg here. Thanks. You're helping me to provide you the information." Because sometimes people think
it is one of those automated bots.
That's ManyChat.
There's some very, very ManyChat, and it's.
All right, can you put that in the show notes? I run our office in the Philippines. We do this part here,
yes,
and then we take it all and we go. And then she does everything else after that.
Wonderful. That's great. Yeah.
So I will put a little text note.
So I think a key thing, I guess, just to summarise that point, is the challenge is to not use technology so much that we're depersonalising things, especially in a era or a time when people are getting a lot of self-help through the internet and cutting out the people. It's better to say, okay, I'll give you a little bit because it'll be helpful to you.
Yes.
Because if I ring you to talk about selling your house, but that's not what you're interested in, you're interested in, say, presenting your home, then I should be ringing you to talk about that, or else I'm wasting your time. But I should be.
But particularly in this industry, when you're dealing with someone's biggest asset or the second biggest asset that they own, potentially, they need that human interaction. They need that someone to say, "It's okay, I will look after you," because it's huge.
Yeah, and the reason that I jump into those conversations, which are text conversations up till then, you can embed videos and things, but it's better if you received a message from me. It said, "Hi Eva, I'm Greg. Thanks for your messages. Look, I'm right here. Just ask any questions. Unless you just want to pop your mobile number and look, I'll just give you a call and we'll have a chat." Because up to that point, it's just text message, and that's just a short message on my phone.
Yes.
That I've taken a moment to video, and it's suddenly you can convey the things that you can't convey in text, like enthusiasm, passion, empathy, those sorts of things, and that creates that really good connection. Because particularly with a short video clip, and we're talking probably less than a minute, often less than 15 seconds.
And how many words is it that you would say there that if it was in an email, you'd have to sit there and type out?
Absolutely.
And you're going to lose your train of thought. Yeah.
Do you have pre-recorded set video messages that you send, or do you literally stand there with your iPhone and go, "Hey, Joe, this is Greg here. I'm sorry I can't take your call right now, but I thought I'd quickly touch base with you." I'll be like, you literally do.
It's better to personalise it, because as I've sent this message to you, Eva, it sounds more genuine.
It's genuine, that's right.
Rather than, "Hi there," which you can still do general ones that sound good, like, "Hi there, thanks so much for getting in touch. Really appreciate it. I am here. Just pop a message through, and I'll do my best to make sure you get what you need and the information help you need." So yes, ManyChat can have videos in there. For example, they can follow a chain where they're just wanting some information.
Yes.
So you have a video about the information, you have a download, that sort of stuff. However, I can see each of those steps. So I can still jump in and say, "Oh, notice you've just downloaded our landlord book. Let me know if you have any questions." An actual video or the reason I'm not saying to ring them is because in that particular process, you don't get there phone number unless they give it to you.
Yes.
So that's why you're using some of that audio, some of that video, but ultimately you're asking, can I contact you?
Yes.
Can I email you, or can I ring you?
Permission based.
Yes, and once you've got that, then it's
You've already
easy.
got the first part of the rapport all sorted.
And it's interesting in our industry. We've always had a very strong focus around voice communication.
Yes.
And if a client sends you a message via email, we generally straight away pick up the phone just so we can have a chat.
Yes.
We've had many occasions where you're going backwards and forwards, and then emails get misconstrued, and then the communication channel just starts to break down. And then we'd follow it up with an email. We'd say, okay, as we discussed, da-da-da-da.
Yeah, that's
Here's the key point.
A 2-minute or a 5-minute chat changes the whole dynamic.
Let's say I sent you an email and said, oh, the washing machine's broken down. You send one back saying, that's great. Now, take away the voice, turn it into text. Is he saying that sarcastically?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
That's right.
Or is he saying, oh, that's great. We've been wanting to replace that washing machine, or I've got a spare. But we don't know that.
That's right.
And so let's say I think you're being sarcastic. I'm thinking, oh, gee, he's not a very nice guy. Yeah.
Or sometimes if you're actually, you're having a bad day and you write a response to someone or a genuine reply, the tone of your message, it could be so misconstrued just because you're literally just thinking about something else.
Yeah, not even a bad day if you're stuck for time.
Or stressed.
Let's say I'm typing an email, which is always longer than a phone call. but let's say I'm typing an email. You sort of have to then, before you push that send button, you have to think, right, let's click over to the person reading it's mind. How else could this be construed? And when you're on the phone, you don't need to do that because your voice or your tone is doing it for you.
Exactly. So with that in mind, what do you see as the biggest changes or disruptors coming in the industry in the next few years?
In terms of changes, there's been a lot of legislative changes that are either being mooted or have come up. And this creates a fantastic opportunity because you look at these things two ways. You can look at them negatively or positively. And look at them negatively will just lead to a despair if you choose. But here's where I see the opportunity. About 65% or thereabouts of all properties in New Zealand are managed by people that do it themselves. It's just something in our DNA. They just choose to do it that way. Now, with anything that you do, let's imagine you're going to mow your back lawns. If I came along and planted a tree, that's a bit of a nuisance. If I plant 5 trees, it's more of a nuisance, and so forth. So really, it's just a matter of trying to make things. So I've lost my train of thought there. Sorry, guys.
Around the legislation.
Around the legislation. Sorry. So if we're putting the opportunity comes about where all these trees, if you like, the insulation, all these obstacles are being put in front of the landlord who's trying to manage their own property.
Yes.
But they're not only saying that; they're saying if you break a tree, you're going to have to pay for it. If you break one of these laws, you're going to have to pay for it. And they have trouble keeping up. And suddenly the value proposition's getting better. Value in so much as the intangibles, the less stress. I as an individual don't have to keep learning, and I'm not going to fulfill.
And preventing those mistakes from being made where if something does go wrong, you're not financially at a loss as well because somebody else is pre-warning you about the situation.
And so the changes are positive in that just in a New Zealand context, it'll mean that more people want to have property managers.
Yeah.
If it was in Australia, for example, it would just be the property managers saying, "Oh man, this is going to make our job more difficult."
But I think it's fantastic because you can, like you said, you can either look at it as a challenge or a problem.
Absolutely.
There's opportunity everywhere.
Of course there is.
When we were running the online marketing business years ago, I had no idea we'd be doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But we just followed the opportunity.
Yes.
In the same way, in 10 years' time, I've no doubt it'll be a different opportunity.
Yep. And so that's with the legislative changes or anything like that, or news articles, things in the media, whatever it is. You can look at those things and think, where's the opportunity? And the opportunity in change and legislation is around education and placing yourself as an expert.
Yes.
Bringing the newspaper, saying, is this newsworthy? Do you want some comments on this? Remember, you can ring me for comments. I was in our local newspaper 3 times in the last 8 days. And I was thinking, that's probably a bit much. but then people are thinking, who's that guy that's always talking about this?
Yeah.
And so that's an opportunity too. So it really is.
Sort of figure.
Yeah, so it's really a case of how you frame things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say to Greg 22 years ago if you could talk to him today?
Get
out of it, run!
I'd say that there's a fantastic opportunity. There are things that I would tell young Greg to do differently. I'd actually tell him to buy more real estate personally.
Domain names.
But in terms of the business context, I would say to focus very strongly on lead generation and spend the time doing the things that are going to be the most value, which in the context of a business development manager is meeting people, being face-to-face. So I would have a system, as I do now, where appointments are being made, leads are being generated, appointments are being made, and in an ideal world, which I'm heading towards, there'll be turn up at work and your appointments are already there to go and see people. The pre-selling's been done. And as a BDM, what probably all BDMs really want is just the opportunity to talk to people, because you put them in front of people and that's where they can do the business. So I'd say to young Greg, don't spend time on other things. Grow, and the business would, in hindsight, have grown much faster if we're concentrating getting the leads in and having, in other words, a person who's solely responsible for growing the business or more people if you can afford it. So because the people often say to me, should we put on a BDM or should we put on another BDM? And the answer really is, why on earth wouldn't you? Of course you should. Because
unless you don't want to grow your business.
and that's where we had a situation recently with graphic design, funnily enough, where we wanted somebody to come in and work in-house on marketing, do our brochures, advertising, that sort of thing. And we had a lady apply for the job who was way overqualified. In fact, she was a strategic marketing expert. However, her life situation had meant she just needed a job. She was moving to the area and she was happy to do that. So my CEO rang up and said, Greg, we've got this lady, but she can't do brochures and flyers. She does this strategy stuff. And I said, hire her, pay her whatever she needs, put her in place, and we'll hire someone else to do it. Because sometimes in life, opportunity comes along, and if you're open for it, we could have just said, oh no, she might be overqualified, she might get bored, she might leave. Instead, it's like, well, let's get her to do what she's good at, what she's passionate about, and then we'll worry about it. So so there's always opportunity for exciting change. You just have to see it and not be afraid to take a risk.
And speaking of exciting change, we're at that part of the interview, the hot seat part of the interview, where we're going to go through and ask you a series of questions. Sure. Very, very nice short questions and hopefully short answers.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm giving you a hint.
Yeah.
And if you really struggle to answer, to say pass.
Okay,
we'll just
good.
Keep moving, so.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, number one bucket list item.
Diving with sharks.
Favourite hobby?
Football. That's soccer. The
real football.
Strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Moose.
Moose.
Really?
Yeah, probably moose, yeah.
Okay.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Happy, lively, energetic.
How do you spend the first 3 hours of your day?
Getting ready for work.
Yes.
Making a to-do list once I get to work. Tackling the massive influx of things that fill up my brain, and then meditating. And then when I finish meditating, I come out with a clear head and ready to hit the day, and I'm super productive.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
If you had a super yacht, what would you call it?
The name Bertha came into my head just then, but I've got no idea why. That's what happens when you panic with a quick answer.
Bertha. What's your biggest non-negotiable?
In business? Or just in life? Because not letting people bring me down.
Morning or night?
Definitely a night person.
Weapon of choice?
Sword.
You said that too quickly.
Yeah. So you've got one down here.
That's right.
Can I get out of this room?
Biggest fear?
Biggest fear, sharks. That's why it's still on my bucket list.
University or School of Hard Knocks?
I think I learnt more through the hard knocks.
Yeah. What motivates you?
People. Being around people.
Greatest failure?
Greatest failure would be... Oh, that's a toughie. This one we talked about earlier where I paid the IRD $75,000. Turned out okay, we got it back, but...
It was a hiccup, not a failure.
Yeah,
lesson, right.
I don't fear failure, but I just try and be as confident, as educated about something before I go into it. Yeah.
Yes. Friday or Monday?
Definitely Friday.
One item you could not live without?
Toothbrush.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
And how many keys do you have in your keyring?
About 8.
8.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. You're the first person we've interviewed. Everyone else is like, no keys. apparently property managers, it's the bane of their existence. So when they're not working, they don't want them.
David, before you move on, I have to just pause. Greg, you are wearing the most interesting, stunning shoes that I've ever seen.
Have they been capturing your interest?
They have been capturing my interest. You have to show. All right, Greg, do you want to just show them to our camera?
I'll just...
Yep.
Just like
I'm going to take a photo. Yep. I'll take a photo. We'll include it as a slide because tell us very, very briefly what motivated.
I speak at events sometimes, and I was speaking at an event in Australia, and I had this crazy idea that if I bought shoes that were so wild and outrageous when I was up on stage, even if people didn't remember what I said, they'd remember the shoes. So, why not be remembered for something?
Fantastic. So we're at this point of the interview where it's a shameless plug time. What would you like to tell people about what you're doing?
Loving what we do. We work in the greater Manawatu area.
Yes.
We have a great service actually for people wanting to invest in Manawatu. We have high rates of return relatively to other places in the country. I've got a free service where I'll go and look at any property that people are keen on. Let's say somebody from Auckland's buying in Palmerston North, value it for them, give them renovation advice. It's called our investor support program, and a lot of the work I do is free of charge. And I don't mind saying that because my marketing strategy is give, and work just flows back in. Yes. So let's say I offered you a free valuation to update your properties, but you still decided that you want to do it yourself. That's no problem. You'd probably feel a little guilty. and I'd say to you, don't worry about it because you might meet someone tomorrow and they need some help. And just mention my name. Paid for. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, lovely.
And if someone wanted to get in contact with you, what would be
so Watson Real Estate.
Yes.
.nz
Yep.
as the website.
Put that on the show notes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Cool.
Thanks for
really
coming
good
on.
interview. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
It's been loads of fun.
Yeah, excellent. David Judge again from the Hot Seat, and Eva and Greg, thank you very much. And guys, we'll talk soon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode with Greg. And before you go, I'd ask if you enjoy this episode that you subscribe to our podcast, which you can find if you search for The Hot Seat wherever you listen to podcasts, especially on Spotify and Apple. I also want to remind you that The Hot Seat is powered by affordable staff, and if I am 100% honest, we could not put The Hot Seat together without outsourcing. There's a lot of background work that goes into creating a podcast, anyone that's done it, and this couldn't be done without outsourcing it to our overseas team. I record the content and I send it offshore, where they handle the video, the audio, the website, the podcast distribution, the marketing, and so much more. So a special thank you to our team in the Philippines. Okay, that's it. Thank you again for all of your support, and we'll catch you in the next episode of The Hot Seat.